Hello, I'm Dr. Daniel Cross Turner, Head of Programming and Outreach for the Georgetown County Library System, and welcome to Digibridge 2.0, a series of 12 humanities presentations by local experts on various fascinating elements of Georgetown County's deep, diverse history and culture. All presentations are free and open to the public, and they'll take place on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. During March, we're here at our beautiful new Southern Georgetown Library located at 4187 Powell Road in Georgetown. In April, we'll move for 4 more exciting presentations to our Carvers Bay Library out on Choppy Road in Hemingway. And in May, we'll close out Digibridge 2.0 at our Andrews Library location at 105 North Morgan Avenue in Andrews. All 12 presentations will also be made available for viewing afterwards on the Georgetown County Library YouTube page. The Digibridge 2.0 series is supported with a growth grant from South Carolina Humanities with funding provided by the National Endowment for the Humanities. South Carolina Humanities is a not-for-profit organization inspiring, engaging, and enriching South Carolinians with programs on literature, history, culture, and heritage. And we have an excellent way to kick off this series here at Southern Georgetown Library. Dennzon Winley, a political scientist and educator, among other roles. The title of his talk, The Birth of Two Peoples, the Shared History of the Gullah-Geechee and the Sierra Leoneans. Dennzon Winley served as congressional intern in the office of U.S. Representative James E. Clyburn. He is an expert on geopolitics and foreign affairs who is currently pursuing his master's in global policy from the University of Texas at Austin, although he just said he may be transferring to the upstate, transferring those credits to the Clemson University to finish off, and he's wearing more of a Clemson shade of orange rather than that burnt orange of Texas, but 2 excellent schools there. And he is a Georgetown native, born and bred, and Winley will present on his fascinating experiences as an educated with the Peace Corps, teaching in Sierra Leone, exploring kindred ties he discovered between Lowcountry Gullah culture and the people over in West Africa. He will discuss how his time in Sierra Leone shaped his perspective not only on political and economic development in emerging nations, but also right here back home. So please welcome Dennzon Winley.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you all for coming out to this presentation because thank you, Dr. Turner. Every opportunity I get, I love to recount my experience in Sierra Leone, West Africa. Sierra Leone was the first African nation that I visited, and it was something special to live there for nearly 2 years, immerse myself in Sierra Leonean culture, the many aspects of its culture, its political system, its economic development, and I was even there during a presidential election. So, without further ado, here is Global Gullah from South Carolina to Sierra Leone. Special thanks to the library system. I love thanking the Rice Museum because if anyone has not been down there to look at the history on display about the Gullah people, it is an excellent display, and I learn many things from there all the time. And in particular, thanks to my Sierra Leonean sisters and brothers, who without them, those people protected me. They aided me tremendously. They were a huge source of inspiration. So real quick, this is a photo that myself and my cohort, we took with the president of Sierra Leone, Dr. Julius Maada, who is up for re-election next year. And this was a very special day because most Peace Corps members, service members, do not get to visit the head of state. In fact, Peace Corps has a very strict policy of separating politics and what we were doing. So we were there serving as teachers in local communities. We were not in any major cities. We were just as rural as it could get. So this was a very special day, bringing us all together with the former U.S. ambassador to Sierra Leone. And yeah, this is something we will cherish for a long time. So just to give you some context, some moving thoughts on what I was, how it was, where I was, I'm going to show you a video that I created for a 3rd grade class. It is no more than 3 minutes, but it will give you a good idea of what my day-to-day looked like. And please excuse my terrible Creole, which I will explain to you later.
Bora, Monsieur.
Money.
Bua Visye Kaiwena. Hello, how are you doing, class? My name is Dennzon, and I would like to welcome each and every one of you to beautiful Sierra Leone, or as we call her here, Mama Saloon. Before I go any further, I would like to thank each and every one of you, especially Ms. Walsh, for giving me this chance to share my incredible journey here in Sierra Leone. A little about myself. Currently, I am a teacher with the United States Peace Corps, an organization that sends Americans all over the world to aid those in developing nations. Right now, I live in a town called Shibwema. Try pronouncing that one, Shibwema, where I will be for the next 2 years. Hey, would you all like to know a secret? I was sitting in your seat almost 15 years ago. I too was in Ms. Walsh's class. And here's another secret. If you work hard and you excel throughout Ms. Walsh's class, middle and high school, and especially college, you too can go out in the world and serve alongside others. Now that's enough about me. Allow me to tell you a little more about sweet Mama Saloon.
Sierra Leone is a very small nation in the region known as West Africa. Its population is about 6 million, so it is about the size of South Carolina. Here in Saloon, they have many languages, but the main ones are Creole, English, and the regional dialects known as Mende or Katimni. Here in Saloon, there are a lot of young people. In fact, over 60% of the population is under the age of 25 years old. So that means young people. Another interesting fact about Mama Saloon is that it is very beautiful here. What's more, everything grows here. Oranges, pineapples, bananas, plantains. They even call cucumbers concumbas. Now, on to a little about what I do here in Shibwema. Currently, I am a teacher at Holy Ghost Secondary School. Here in Sierra Leone, secondary school is high school. Now, though I teach the older kids, here in Sierra Leone, both older and younger kids in middle school, what we call junior secondary school, attend classes in the same building. Here at Holy Ghost, we only have 27 classrooms, but there are over 1,000 students here. So as you can imagine, it gets pretty crowded pretty quick. Now, more about Shibwema. Shibwema is a town located in Kailon District. It has about 20,000 people. It's made up of many villages, so it's pretty huge. What you're viewing now is called the marketplace. Sierra Leone, like most African nations, do not have large supermarkets like Walmart or Piggly Wiggly. What you're viewing now is where people go every day to buy everyday needs, from food, toothpaste, soap, you name it. The section I live in is called Soso Town. It has about 5,000 people, so I have plenty of company. Sierra Leone is not like America. We do not enjoy 24-hour electricity, running water, or cable. You do everything here by hand or manual labor. So while Sierra Leoneans don't enjoy 24-hour Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, they do have a lot of fun. Like here, where the Peking them are playing football. Football is a very popular sport here in Sierra Leone and Africa in general. Myself, I don't know how to play football, but the kids are promising to teach me. Let's see how this turns out. So, that is all I have for now. How do you view Sierra Leone? What do you think about her? What questions do you have for my students? I cannot wait for your response. In our next video, I will discuss more of my day-to-day activities and food.
So if you probably can guess from that beginning of that video, I was hot. I was hot on most days in Sierra Leone, and in fact, my last visit was this past summer. I did go back for a few weeks for an internship. My apologies, I'm trying to get back. So real quick before I go with the presentation, in the video I said a lot of simplified things. I make a big thing when I'm speaking about emerging nations, developing nations, to avoid certain words with certain audiences. So when this one was made, I made it for children. But I would like to say here, there's power in the tongue, and there's a lot of words that I should not have used, such as, we are there to help Sierra Leoneans. Because truth be told, every single nation on this earth, there are people there, they have the expertise, and they build their community, they build their nations. And so what we made sure to do in the Peace Corps, my fellow volunteers and myself, was watch our vernacular. We were there to serve alongside those teachers, those healthcare workers who were already serving in their community. As you will realize later in the presentation, the major difference between the United States, the Western world, versus places like Sierra Leone is a lack of as much resources as we enjoy here. So, real quick, a brief history on Sierra Leone. As said in the video, population around 6-7 million, plus or minus. Sierra Leone is divided into 16 different ethnic groups, the two largest being the Kitimni, which is to the western part of the country, and the Mende, which is to the eastern part. I lived in the eastern part of Sierra Leone, in Shawema, where the Mende is dominated, and it's almost like going to different sections of the United States, different sections of the African American community in this country. You start noticing different cultural differences, particularly in cuisine. Don't tell them, but I think the Kitimni cook a little better. The capital is Freetown. It's one of, as you can guess from the name, Freetown, just like in Gabon, the capital is called Libreville, Freetown in French. So Freetown was established following when African Americans, those from the Caribbean, Black Canadians, they were resettled in Africa. And so Freetown was for a long time the pearl of West Africa. It had the first university in West Africa, in the modern era, I should say. And it's enjoyed a reputation as a very bustling city. Religion, the country is majority Muslim, which is to the surprise of a lot of people, but there is a large Christian minority. And it must be noted that Sierra Leoneans coexist very well along religious lines. I'm not Catholic, but I will go to Catholic Mass on Sundays when I want to get out and mingle. I was also invited to the mosque, which was just around the corner. So I also went to the mosque. And so Sierra Leoneans are just all about teaching you their culture. Some of the largest cities, Freetown, Bo, Kinema, McKinney, Lansar. And a brief note, between 1991 and 2002, you may have heard of it, Sierra Leone was engaged in a civil war. And the civil war, I put here not ethnic based, but that's part true, part false. The catalyst for the war was about political power. Now notice mentioned I said the country divided between the Kitimni and the Mende. And so political parties also have footholds in those two ethnicities too. And so the ruling APC party at the time, APC more affiliated with the Kitimni. The SLPP, the other major party, more so with the Mende. And so the APC, they enjoyed, I don't call it a dictatorship, but it was an authoritarian state. and they were usurping a lot of the resources, and so people got tired of it. And so, unfortunately, they went through a civil war that's caused a lot of destruction, and from what Sierra Leone is still rebuilding from today. This is the capital of Freetown. Just a pitch. You ever want to go to a West African nation? Freetown, for me, is it. It's like, there's nothing like an authentic big air market. You know, if you like me, you like going to flea markets, right? So picture in a West African nation, a flea market times 100. It is amazing. These were my buddies. Sierra Leoneans, there are a lot of children in Sierra Leone. I think over 60% of the population is below the age of 25. So as you can imagine, there was a lot of interest in the American in town. And so this was the core group of kids who will follow me, nag me, but they will also help me out tremendously when I needed things, particularly with translation, because I like to also tell people this: Sierra Leonean children are some of the more talented children I've seen in my life, because they don't have any choice but to learn 2, 3, sometimes 4 languages. And so, in school, the lingua franca is Creole, which I should not have called it broken English, because I firmly believe that Creoles are languages apart. So they know Creole, they know their mother tongue, which is in this case Mende. They're teaching them English, and then they also sometimes have to learn Kitindi. They interact with Kitindis or Soso, Kissi, too many to name. When I went back in July, unfortunately, all of them have moved from the town I was in. So that was unfortunate, but I adore them. These are my favorite aunties in the market. Every day I would pass by, she will offer me, they call it granite peanuts. They also would just, oftentimes you just need people in your life to offer comfort, to hold your hand. These were those people for me. This was taken on my recent trip back last summer, and I can report that they're doing very well. And we were barters, like they would give me peanuts, and I would buy them coffee, and that was it. So I cherish them as well. So Sierra Leone as a state, because I think it's not diving too deep into the political science jargon, every nation is created. Every nation on this earth has semi-artificial borders. So Sierra Leone is no exception. Sierra Leone was first, how should I phrase this? Europeans first made contact with what would become Sierra Leone by a Portuguese in the late 15th century during the age of exploration. It's important to also distinguish Europeans did not discover Sierra Leone. Europeans did not discover America or Africa, They first made contact themselves with these places. And so it was by a Portuguese, and when he arrived, he said that the mountains surrounding Freetown resembled a lion. And so in Portuguese, I'm going to butcher it, is Sierra Leone, so Lion's Mountain. And so the name stuck. Due to the European colonial conquests and wars, Sierra Leone would become a British crown colony in 1896. The British had firmly got a foothold in the region, and so they used Sierra Leone as a major export and port for, as we all know, slavery as well. In 1960, April 7th, 1960, Independence Day is coming up, Sierra Leone achieved independence from Great Britain. So the nation, the distinction between the state and the nation, the state is the apparatus. The state is the artificial boundaries that we talked about, the administrative apparatus of a country. The nation belongs to the people. So as I told you before, 16 different ethnic groups. They live in relative harmony. Sierra Leoneans, they engage in the Civil War, but again, when you're in Sierra Leone, they don't talk about it as you would expect, as I was expecting, because there's still a lot of trauma there, as a lot of war-torn countries tend to experience. So I have a bit of the intersection of religion and social economics. The thing about Sierra Leone over 90% of the population lives in abject poverty. And so, in typical political science logic, that would create some kind of tension between the different ethnic groups or whatnot that's vying for resources, that's vying for power. And when you add in religion, as what's going on in the Central African Republic, for example, you know, that divide between Christian and Muslim tends to worsen things. But in Sierra Leone, it's not the case, which is, I find remarkable for this nation. I loved highlighting the Fulani people. The group of ladies I showed you, they belong to the Fulani tribe, or the Fuller tribe. And the Fulani people are nomads by nature. I have up here, they are the traders of West Africa. In certain West African nations, they are the principal traders. You know, they serve as the middle people. And they could have a lot of money and influence. It's different. If you follow the news, such as like in Burkina Faso, which experienced a coup d'etat, Niger, they have a big Fulani population. These people are looked down upon. They're persecuted for, you know, their perceived riches or for what they believe to be ties to, in those two countries that I cited, extremist groups. And so I mention that because it's very recent. There's a lot of turmoil in West Africa right now with a lot of military overthrowing the government. And so all this stuff on ethnicity, poverty, in the Sahel region, terrorism, that plays a role into what's going on if you're interested in it. As I mentioned before, I'm not going to dive too deep into this aspect again. The Timni is normally associated with the APC, the Mende with the SLPP, the Sierra Leone People's Party, and the APC is the All People's Congress. This is important because next year, Sierra Leone will be going through their presidential election. And so they've only had about 1, 2, 3, 4. This will probably be number 5 in their history. Because after the Civil War, they overthrew President Momo, who belonged to the APC. And then from 2007 President Bio came in 2018. And he was the first SLPP president in a long time. And so when I was there, you know, my colleagues were talking to me about, okay, now the power's coming back to our region of the country. Now, because it's a very centralized country administratively, now that the SLPP is in power in Freetown, we will get more of the resources, the scarce resources that already exist in this country. So it's going to be interesting to watch. And as I do in all elections, including America's elections now, it's a praying time, so just pray for the best. This was a video I can show you after because it takes a little maneuvering that I took during a political parade, which I should not have been to because again, the Peace Corps and politics don't mix. But I'm out now, so. I'm highlighting the Creole people here because when coming back to being Gullah-Geechee or African American in general, you know, when we talk about Gullah or the broader term of African American vernacular, there's always this debate between whether it's a language or a dialect. I am not a linguist by trade, so I don't too much engage in that debate. But in Sierra Leone, you hear Creole, right? Creole in the lounge between English, Portuguese, French, and native languages. And it's beautiful. When you listen to it, it's like there's this rhythm to it that I can never get down. One, I can't dance, so I never had rhythm to begin with. But if you really get it down and you figure out the language pattern, it is a language all on its own. And so again, you know, there were expatriated African Americans, Maroons from Jamaica, other Africans who fortunately did not touch North American soil, and Black Canadians. And what's amazing about Creole, it is the lingua franca of Sierra Leone. So you have 16 different cultures, different ethnic groups with their own languages. But you go, no matter what part of the country you go to, Creole is spoken and mutually understood. Children understand Creole by the age of 2. So, you know, this language has really made Sierra Leone into the nation that, you know, we typically think of that unites people language. Who has seen this movie, Blood Diamonds? I tell everyone, I hate this movie. Because in popular culture, you know, we're Westerners, we see something come out in Hollywood, and we have this stuck image of what that film was depicting as, you know, being real life, where, you know, that it talks about. And so it is true during the Civil War, blood diamonds, you know, diamonds are extracted during conflict, sold during conflict, to continue to fuel that conflict. It did happen. And it happens even today, particularly in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, but that's a different subject. I will just tell people, you know, when I mention Sierra Leone people, this is the first thing they bring up, like blood diamonds. I can't go there, blood diamonds. No, I'm sorry. It's like, it's a well put together movie, but it does not depict the true Sierra Leone, which is a country composed of, I'm telling you, these people will give you the shirts off their back. When I went back in July, I just popped up everywhere I went, surprising everybody. And my buddy in Masheka, hey Kimmel, he just, you're staying with me tonight. I was like, no, I was gonna go to the Capitol. No, you're staying with me tonight. And I stayed with him, and we had a ball. That's the kind of people they are. So, Sierra Leone is what they call resource rich, like a lot of sub-Saharan African nations, you know. A lot of nations are rich in bauxite, diamonds, uranium. Sierra Leone is very known, again, for its diamonds. And in fact, two stories. When I was in my town, I had a friend from Kono. Kono was in the north of the country. He was like, hey, do you want to go to a diamond mine and go mine diamonds with me? I said, no. Because that is a quick way for me to get arrested. And if I try to leave this country with any natural resources, I'm really going to be arrested, but as I should. You know, that's another place's riches that, you know, should go to its people. Second story. This diamond here is a natural diamond. It was mined in 2017 by a pastor. Because, you know, jobs are not ubiquitous in Sierra Leone. So they do like side hustles, like going to the mines. One day, this pastor found this diamond. How much was over 700 carats? And so, luckily, you know, he did the right thing. He turned it into the authorities. And the authorities, in turn, rewarded him for his discovery. That diamond sold for over $10 million. You know, and so it's like, that kind of riches exists in Sierra Leone, and like I said, a lot of those sub-Saharan countries. It's just what happens after they're discovered. Normally there's an intermediary, it has to go to, I believe, Belgium to be refined and cut and all that stuff. And so the tax windfall is the controversy, you know. Oftentimes the money gets lost. This is just, I don't too much care talking about this aspect of the country, but it's true. So that's, if Sierra Leone was to better manage its natural resources, its tax base, I think it would be a much better off place. But just FYI, riches like that do exist and make that country. So, Sierra Leone, the state, I call it a libertarian's playground, right? Because in America, not to get into politics, you have your libertarians who want a more free society. They shouldn't be signing rules to do X, Y, and Z. I'm here to tell you, if they want that, they can go to Sierra Leone. You can get away with nearly everything. Well, not everything. You know, there is law and order there, but it's not nearly as strict as you will find it in the United States or the Western world. I have a note for education in Sierra Leone. You may be surprised to find out that, you know, education is not free everywhere in the world. When I was there, my first year there, students had to pay education fees. You know, we're talking about families. They may go, agriculture is the #1 employer. So whatever you grow, you eat, and you sell. And so they would force these kids and these families to pay the education fees so that teachers and whatnot can get paid, right? Obviously, that's not sustainable. That does not allow kids to learn. And in fact, my very first day, they came into the classroom, I'm trying to introduce myself in my terrible Creole, and they told them to get out. Those who had not paid their money, get out. And get out they did. And so that continued for about 3 or 4 months. And it definitely it was an experience. But in 2018, really 2019, after President B.O. won, they tried to implement they called it free and quality education. And it's not so much either right now, because, when you lack 100% capacity to monitor, to allocate, and to track public monies, there's a lot of things that can happen. And so a lot of money does not get delivered to these schools, and in certain places in the country, they still have to pay school fees. So Sierra Leone is still working on it. Another thing, public services are semi-inadequately funded. Like, you look at your municipal government, your county government, and you think about all the services that you get, trash pickup, the water and all that good stuff, stormwater, all that stuff. It doesn't exist here, at least not in this nation. They partner with private companies, a lot out of China, to install electricity across the country. But often it's solar generated, which the solar is good, but it's not constant. And the third biggest city, where I was in the summer, their electricity will go out. It's publicly controlled, but you will have long spans of no power. And so, they're still battling with things like that, how to create a sustainable model that benefits everybody, not just people in urban areas. You can imagine how it is in rural areas. Oh, this is another quick story. We had the saying here, abolish the police, right? I assure you, you will not abolish the police in Sierra Leone. One, they are inadequately funded. So they don't have the resources to respond to emergencies as they should. I was robbed. This is another story I hate telling, but I was robbed. And I went to the police station, and they kind of looked at me like, what do you want me to do? Because they don't have the resources to properly investigate something, and they're not going to go take fingerprints. What database are they going to put it in? Which is just unfortunate when you're living in semi-rural areas in Sierra Leone. I'm sure in the bigger cities it's slightly better, but not too much. So finally, the GullahGeechee Connection. As a lot of you probably already know, over 70% of enslaved Africans, engineers, technicians, agriculturists, they were taken through South Carolina ports, particularly Charleston. And so a big portion of those individuals came through what is now known as Sierra Leone. Particularly Bunce Island, which was a major departure point in Sierra Leone. I did not get to go to Bunce Island. A few of my colleagues did. But I did get to go to a village that was known for holding captives before being shipped off. And it's like, me being a nerd that I am, you go around asking the inhabitants, hey, what do you know about what happened here, blah, blah, blah. Those people don't have the time of the day to, recognize the gravity of what I was trying to talk to them about, which is unfortunate. But if you have not seen this film, The Language You Cry In, has anyone seen this? Essentially, it's about the story of a grandmother who would sing this song in, I think, somewhere outside of Charleston. She would sing this song in Mende, what they discovered to be Mende. And so one day, the granddaughter, she dug more into it. And what they discovered was it came from Sierra Leone. It came from Pujol District, which was south of where I was. And they searched for, I think, upwards of a year and a half. They could not find any connection. No one in Sierra Leone knew. Until one day they went to the village on the border of Liberia. And there it was. And so that was produced in 1998. What happened, they organized sort of cultural exchange between that granddaughter and the girl who knew the song because her grandmother was singing to her too. And so it's a beautiful film to watch, and it really just highlights that cultural connection that still exists between certain people, the Gullah people in South Carolina along the coast, and Sierra Leoneans. This is the mayor of Freetown, the capital. I am going to butcher the mayor of Charleston's name. Is that Tecklenburg? Tecklenburg, thank you. She came over. I won't say she comes over often, but they do try to have these cultural exchanges between the Gullah folk and Sierra Leone. And so I find that to be real special. I pray to God when the new African American Museum opens down there in Charleston, I believe later this year, they will have some displays and stories on that. So, the food, right? One of the big things for me when I was there that really made it known to me that there still was some cultural commonalities is that their food is also rice-based. In African American communities, at least in my household, it's very rice heavy. You know, I was disappointed that they don't grow collard greens, but they grow cabbage, and they eat the leaves off cassava. You know, they have and potatoes, they also use the leaves from that too. So this is potato leaf. One thing that I see African Americans don't too much do, we don't really use the palm oil. I don't know if any of you in the audience use it, but my household, we really never used it. And it was only until I went to Africa where I fell in love with the stuff. And so a lot of Sierra Leonean cuisine is palm oil heavy. You can cook it without the palm oil, but for me it doesn't taste the same. When I first was over there, I would show people the cuisine. And you're like, oh my God, what are you eating? First of all, that's some of the best food I've had in my life. And I've been to a few places around this world, and nearly no one besides us can touch Sierra Leonean cuisine. Over to the far left there, that is beach, but it's black-eyed peas, what we call it here. What me and my friends had fun doing, you all know red rice, right? Who all knows jollof rice? So, I mean, for those who don't know, it's like jollof rice, red rice came from jollof rice. The jollof rice existed first. I went over there with some Nigerian American, and we would debate all the time. I was like, no, my red rice is better than any jollof rice you can produce. But you know, those diaspora wars that we have fun engaging in, it was really fun seeing it up close and personal in Sierra Leone. I'm going to skip that. Except this one, societal stratification and the Black experience. I put this because it was interesting being an African American in Africa. You may be surprised to find out, but a lot of Africans, and this may be a broad generalization, but I've interacted with a few from multiple countries, they typically don't look at African Americans, Black people born in Europe, as being 100% African. I don't know if you've ever had that experience. But it was one of the more annoying things for me. Because when I was alone, I could blend in. You know, I'm just as dark as anybody else. But when I would speak with my white colleagues, you know, I would be treated somewhat differently. They would call me Pumi and Apoto. Apoto is Katimbi, Pumi is Mende, and it means white man. And so often I would, if I didn't have to speak, I did not. Because I had a few of my colleagues like, oh, you know, if you don't speak, you look Nigerian. I was like, well thanks. But, you know, so that was an interesting thing. And then the white savior complex I have up here, because in the Peace Corps, we have this thing about reminding one another, not just our white brothers and sisters, that we enjoy some kind of privilege being from the West in Sierra Leone. And so often, you know, you have some of my white colleagues, it's just like, you know, we're here, we gotta do X, Y, and Z, some people really had this complex, I'm going to save the world. White or black. And you find out real quickly, no, you're not. Two, because you're here serving alongside the people in your town, your village. And so we always make sure to remind each other of that. And let's get that one too. Narrowed in here, but these were the other Black folk in my cohort. So here you have You had 3 African Americans, 2 Nigerians, and Darren is Jamaican. And so I always include this in my slide because, it really shows the power of the diaspora, the black diaspora. And we all experience nearly the same thing because of our upbringing, our existence in the West. Even, I believe, Afusa was born in Nigeria. Anna speaks Igbo, Afusa speaks Yoruba. They have closer proximity to African culture than myself. But they would still be deemed, white or, foreigners because of the fact where they live. So we stuck around each other, we held on to one another, and they're gonna hate me for putting this in my presentation, but I love you all. So there it is. In Sierra Leone, you see a lot of billboards. I put this one because I believe it's critically important. This says hands off our girls. There's a campaign by the First Lady of Sierra Leone because in Sierra Leone there's still a lot of female genital mutilation. And if you don't know what that is, it's where they, how do I put this? They cut the clitoris of young girls at a very young age. When they're initiated in the secret societies, that's when it normally happens. And so Sierra Leone receives a lot of Western dollars. And a lot of progressive-minded liberals, are embedded in American institutions. And so they try to get them to put these campaigns on for more funding. And because, we here in the West, we view it as something that's totally wrong, And for me personally, I believe it's wrong too. But, the clash comes in when you're recognizing that this has been going on for centuries. Literally centuries. And it's just amazing to see what kind of advocacy campaign that you will see throughout the country. Last slide, I just implore each and every one of you to visit Mama Saloon. It's like, it may not be the most glamorous place in the world, but it is one of the more welcoming places that I've ever visited. And these are actual pictures. This picture is taken at Bury Beach. It's a popular expat spot. You can sometimes see the ambassador himself there. We have a man as ambassador now. And then this is number 2 beach, which is my personal favorite, in Freetown. So with that, I thank you all for listening to me ramble. I will now entertain any question that you may have about my beloved Mama Saloon. And again, I thank you.
Thank you. Any questions out there? Dennzon Winley.
If you need a travel agency, I'm not one, but I would be grateful to help you out if you want to plan that vacation in Mama Saloon. Just FYI.
Question.
Yes.
How long was your Peace Corps term?
The Peace Corps term was slated to be 24 months, 24 years, 2 years. But I stayed at 20 because honestly, there was a lot going on. And I reached my wits end. And so I had to get out there before I felt out of love with the country. But obviously that didn't stop me because I went back last year and I pray to God to go back this year. So yes. No.
Well, I was just gonna make a comment. I was talking with somebody, not long ago about whether the Peace Corps even still, existed and sent, Americans to other places.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just had not heard really anything more recently about it.
Myself, it's like, I don't think they've sent anyone back out to the field since the pandemic began. I believe that from what I saw recently, like we have a new country director in Sierra Leone, so they're ramping back up to begin operations again. And prayerfully, they are able to. We're still in the pandemic and nothing's sure anymore, so I hope. Yes, ma'am?
So are they accepting anyone, into the country?
Yes. Whew. But I will tell you, anyone who wants to go, be advised that you need a visa first of all to get in the country. Obtaining a visa is fairly simple enough, straightforward. But what happened when I was there during the summer, they became a level 3 status again. It was like, all right, we're going to close the borders again. So I was like, yikes, I cannot stay here longer than what I was going to do. But you can go, request a visa, they give you a visa easily. But just given our current situation, be aware.
Not sure to what part of Africa, but my sister-in-law, it's her and a group of people, they do the mission work over there. But the last time that they went, she said they had it kind of rough.
Yeah.
As in reference to when they go, they take a lot of stuff to give to the people, but then when they get there, they couldn't get their stuff to actually give to the people.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Which country was it?
It was in Africa, I'm not sure exactly what part of Africa.
Yeah, I guess every country's custom regulations are different. But for Mama Saloon, it's pretty straightforward. I don't too much worry about when I go what's going to happen to my things. But I'm sorry to hear that. But it's not too uncommon for what I've heard in countries I haven't been to over there.
Yeah, and then it was mission, they were doing mission work, so they were just taking stuff to give to the people there. Because like you said earlier, their means of living.
Yeah. Oh yeah, in a lot of those places, even for Sierra Leone, airport workers are government workers, but even government workers aren't paid on time, and if they are paid, it could be 3-4 months down the road. That's Sierra Leone context. I don't know about any of the more developed sub-Saharan countries, but unfortunately, that's not uncommon, which you just mentioned, because even government workers, they may cut corners or, because they're not getting what they deserve. So.
Will they be, no, I didn't mean to cut you off. Will they be considered a third world country, maybe?
In political science jargon, they shy away from that term now.
Okay.
Because it just took on a meaning, when you say third world, people know immediately what you're referring to. And so it created this stigma, when in fact we're all human beings. It's just that, through the process of history, different places have developed over different courses of time, et cetera, et cetera. So we now try to say emerging nations, or to a lesser extent, developing nations. Even though, people still know what you're referring to, but me, myself, I prefer emerging nations. Because which country is one of the fastest developing in the world? Who could guess? Rwanda. Rwanda in Central Africa grows at over 7% annually. It's one of the more fastest developing countries, outstripping in terms of growth rate per year, even sometimes China. So Rwanda is something a country to watch out for. Kenya, Nigeria. Nigeria has the biggest economy on the continent, outpacing South Africa and even Egypt. So depending on the country context, sometimes they're not even known as emerging nations. Like Nigeria is being considered gradually as a middle income country. So yeah.
Question, would you know if, I have a son-in-law that's from another country, and they, like I just stated, they classified it as a third world country, but like you say, emerging country. St. Vincent.
Down in the Caribbean.
In their Barbados.
Now me is like, I've never been to the Caribbean. Oddly enough, I've been dying to get down to Haiti, and Haiti and Jamaica in particular. But I've never been to Barbados or St. Vincent. But from what I've read, those are more In fact, sometimes it's like the jargon isn't even applied to a lot of those countries down there. To Haiti it is, because Haiti unfortunately stays in the news for the wrong reasons. But places like St. Vincent, Jamaica, they are gradually becoming middle income countries as well. Where GDP per habitant is allowing, faster human development, more investment in public infrastructure, education, and so, I gotta get up with your son-in-law because I am dying to get down to the Caribbean one day. Any more?
And he's actually here right now.
We're gonna talk.
We're a 5 month stay, so he's here until May.
He's staying in Georgetown County?
Yes,
Okay.
he's with me, him and my daughter.
Okay. Oh yeah, we're gonna talk that too. It's like anyone, I love foreigners in general.
And you probably can understand him a lot better than I can.
He has a thick accent. Ooh. It's beautiful. I wonder.
And this is his second time here, and I still have.
Really?
Even with her, she was there for what, 2 years? 2 years, maybe 3 years now. She still has trouble understanding what he's saying.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
They got a thick accent.
That's cool.
Mhm.
I love sifting through different accents.
Yeah,
It's a story behind. It's a story and a history behind every language. It's beautiful to me.
it is. So they speak English, but
Right.
oh,
You said that when you would be out in mixed company, that the locals would sometimes refer to you as white man.
Yeah.
Is that a playful term, or is that coming from a place of resentment?
It's never coming from a place of, well, depends. Most Sierra Leoneans, when they say, poto, pumi, they're expressing themselves, me as a foreigner from the United States, that's just common in their language. It's nothing that I should take offense to, but given my Pan-Africanist leanings, I was kind of hurt.
Yeah.
Because it's like, again, when I'm not saying anything, I'm by myself, you blend in, like we blend in. But as soon as they hear the accent, they know immediately that you're from the United States, which is amazing to me. And another thing why for me that could be dangerous, because I told you I was robbed.
Right.
And I believe part of the reason why I was robbed because people knew I was from the United States. And a lot of kids were always, the kids would joke with me. They would be like, Mr. Dennzon, you have a briefcase full of dollars in your room. I said, first of all, that's why banks exist. And I would point to the bank that was literally across the street. That's why places like that exist, But, more so for my Pan-Africanist sensibilities, I was a white man. I'm very much a proud African-American. I'm proud of our culture. And any chance I get, I talk about our history, what we built in the United States. And the same goes for like Darren being a Jamaican. Nigeria, if you have not encountered a Nigerian, they're some of the more prideful people in the world. Oh my goodness. So it's like, even for Nigerians, they was like, excuse me? So.
Wow.
But nothing malicious.
Okay.
Nothing malicious. Except one time, quick story. There was this government soldier, and I was sipping my coffee. We was in under the bathroom together, and he looked at me. He was like, "You're a white man. You're rich." And he said it was such disgust.
Yeah.
And he jumped up to, I don't know what he was gonna do, but because again, they protect foreigners. Everybody jumped on him and got his behind out of there.
Wow.
So that was rare, very rare. Sierra Leoneans are not like that. He was just drunk. So yeah. You good?
Yeah, I think you did more than enough. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Dennzon. We say thank you again to South Carolina Humanities, and thank you to Truman Wins, who got our tech up and running, and Aaron Brickle, who runs our video, and he will upload this video in good time to the Georgetown County Library YouTube channel. And thank you to Cherie Drayton, who has hosted us out here at the Southern Georgetown library, and she will continue to host us for the next 3 weeks. So come join us again at 2 o'clock. We've got some more great presentations coming for you. So, but we really appreciate Dennzon Winley, world traveler, setting all these connections between right here home, Georgetown County, and a new home for him and maybe for some others if we go visit, but a kind of figurative home, Mama Saloon, Sierra Leone there, but very nice job, and we really appreciate it. A friend of the library. So one more time, round of applause to take us out.